Adam Richards is joining us this evening, and Adam is a man that is involved very much in music and sound recordings, etc., etc. So, introduce yourself a little, lad, with those titles that you told me earlier.
Oh, well, put me on the spot a little bit now, Lee. But, so I'm an educator. So I'm the music course leader for a degree program and level 3 program for Bridgend College, which we're in partnership with the University of South Wales. And I'm also a music producer, mixing engineer. I'm freelance, but also I'm part of Trident Records as well. So that's sort of, who I am, really.
Excellent. Very good. Very good. Educator or need educating? Which one is it?
I'm an educator.
Right, Michael is on. Hello, Michael. Michael is a new student of ours.
Okay.
So, excellent. He's a lorry driver. So, well done, Michael. Nice to see you. Okay, right, Trident Records.
Yeah.
Where is it based? Who's involved?
Okay,
what is that?
So Trident Records, basically, there used to be a studio called Trident Studios in London, in Soho, which had the likes of T-Rex, the Beatles done Hey Jude there.
Oh, wow.
Dave Bowie done all their records there. And then a little bit later on the next wave of artists, where they had Queen come in, nobody wanted to sign Queen. So they set up Trident Records to help launch Queen's career and that.
Oh, wow.
So I basically work with Russell Sheffield, who's the CEO of Trident Records, and my good friend Grant Tilbury, and Rich, who's based in Nashville. So it's, a good team of us, which we are based in London, but obviously I'm in South Wales. But yeah, so that's what Trident Records is, and it's all about development. It's all about bringing on new artists, but also the philosophy of bringing in session musicians, bringing in different record producers. But obviously, I can't produce them all, so it's bringing in extra people, and it's getting bigger and bigger all the time. So we relaunched the label February of this year. It's been about 2 years in the making of doing that. But it also, we've got a sister company called Tract, which is a music app and stuff, which is amazing. So that is we work together. So there's over 800,000 subscribers on that.
Wow.
So that's a lot of our talent pool, that we find a lot of amazing artists from across the world.
Excellent.
It's
really
all good.
And I will say, in fairness, with Adam, he's really good with the students there. You take them to Nashville, don't you?
Yeah, we go to Nashville. It's not just me, I gotta say. Big shout out to my colleague Ruth as well.
Yeah,
she's top.
Yeah, she's really good.
Both of us, we take our students to Nashville. We're hopefully going to be going for 2 weeks next year. Rockfield Studios, we go to Monkey Studios. We got a lot of industry professionals with our course internship, so we get people to work in Harvard Mastering, down Monkey Studios, that are working in the industry, are doing really good stuff. Like Levi, you met the other day, working with Timberland, amazing. So that makes it all worthwhile. So as an educator and a music producer, the link there is the fact that I'm all about development. I'm all about music development. I love it.
Fair play. I have noticed you work with the students for them and work hard with them, and you would never know where we are based on the industrial estate. Obviously, people say, I never realised the shop was here.
Yeah.
And I can open the back door there and say, and there's the college just there, and just across is an industrial unit with the full hog in there, the studio, which we will do from the studio in future.
We'll do another one down there. Definitely.
We didn't tonight because of the Wi-Fi, because it's like Fort Knox in it with sound.
It is, mate. It is.
So that's what we did. So we got Owen Paul as well. Again, Owen, he's on every week. Fair play. Thank you, Owen. You need to come back and have your drum lessons, Owen. Never mind plumbing. And Derek King. Hiya, Derek. So there's a few years, so that's good. And we tend to find a lot of guys can't join the SEM because they're still doing lessons.
Yeah,
they're still busy, or they just got home to have food with the family, but they do watch later.
Yeah.
So there's Adam. So he's really involved. We trying to do more with the college. Adam, it's great for the shop. It's good for the students. They get access to all of this as well, don't they? And we're just trying to balance the things together.
Exactly.
And it's exciting and it's good. And it is nice to see the students, trying hard, isn't it? And getting involved in it all.
Yeah,
it's a good thing. It's a privilege for me to be part of that as well. Excellent. So we talked of Trident. We've talked about all your titles, how important you are. And now then,
Stop it, Lee.
what we've got to do, what we've got to do is to talk about the drum kit. We're gonna talk about in a minute, but we also want to talk about the attitude or the manner in which you would be looking for as for musicians. One of the things, from my point of view, is that you will see on Facebook a trend where the drummer will say, "It's my tempo and it's my volume, and if you can't put up with that, that's tough." And I always teach that that's the last thing you should really say. It should be the opposite. For me, as a drummer, I tend to teach the students to say, and I've done it with your students, who's the most important. And they all take guesses, but live, I always say it's the vocal, it's the singer. Because that poor person, if I'm playing way too fast, that person can't breathe, trying to get his words out. If I'm just slamming out and I'm not paying attention to that, then he's or she is the front person that's struggling. So I always try and do it in a way of that the band and musicians should try and push and pull and work within that.
Yeah, in a studio situation, it's slightly different again.
Yes.
Because it's all about the song. So it's not, about that, the main vocalist. It's about serving the song. So
Yeah.
a music producer's head on should be the fact that, okay, what does the song need? It's all about catering for that song, whether you're changing tempos, whether you're changing drum kits to get different sounds, whatever it is, you have to be accommodating. So if all the drummers that I work with now are very accommodating, and I always like the way that, for example, I'm just going to name drop one now, Luke Mark Hughes, fantastic drummer. He's drummed with Tom Adele, Carrie Underwood and stuff like that. And the great thing is with Luke, I've recorded him in the studio and stuff before, but he's also got his home setup, and he's got a very good recording understanding as well. And like with Luke, I'll give him some examples of what I want, the type of sound. He'll go and listen to it. He'll tweak, maybe change the snares out, change the cymbals out specifically for that song. He'll send it over. He say, "Ad, is this the sort of thing you're thinking? If it's not, I can tell him," and he'll go and redo it and stuff. But it's all about it. You are right. It's having that right attitude. If you've got the wrong attitude and you think you're the most important person, then it's just not going to happen in the studio.
No.
The studio is a creative environment, and it's all about working together to get to that end goal, to serve that song.
Yes.
And to have and for if it's a band or whether it's just a singer-songwriter or a solo artist, whatever it is, it's always about getting the best out of it for that song. And that's why you find that some bands, for example, they may start with one record producer and do like a single or something like that, and then they'll move to somebody else. Maybe they just haven't clicked. And maybe that record producer's got a different idea of where to take them. But that's fine, that's part of it. And, one of the things that I've learned is that you can't get offended if somebody comes to you and says, we're going to use somebody else to mix or record this record. I won't get offended by it because it's just part of it. Yeah. And it depends as well. Like, there's an act that I was going to mix their album, but because they started kicking off, they got some good management behind them and stuff like that. Now they've gone with a bigger mixing engineer and stuff. Yeah. But that's absolutely fine. Yeah, I don't mind that because, for me, I'm like, I want them to do really well.
Yes.
And maybe they'll come back to me in a year or two and go, "Oh, Ad, we really like the mixes that you've done, blah, blah, blah. Can you do them again?" So it is all about, the studio is all about building relationships and being able to listen and being able to discuss as well. It's not really a place for like egos to really sort of take over.
I think that's very similar to what naturally we teach to do with live first, because someone's not played drums, they want to maybe go out and play with the band or whatever it is. I think there are similarities there. Again, it's discussion, being prepared to be told something that's different to what you feel. From the drumming point again, if the singer is struggling, why, how, and so on. And I said similar within the studio. If you're working with an artist, by the time the drummers come in, you've already spent this time, haven't you? You might be writing a song with them. You may have a concept between the two of you. So you don't want any musician walking in with like, oh, I don't listen to that. I just do my thing. You want someone that can take those ideas, isn't it, and put them into their instrument and make them sweet for you.
Yeah, and
sometimes listen to how you want it to work.
Yeah, and sometimes it's a case of letting the drummer have some of their own input and stuff. I know I'm not against that at all, because it is quite nice sometimes. They'll think of something,
but it
that
has
I
to be based around you, doesn't it? Can't be blind.
That's fine. Yeah, like for example, a great artist I'm working with now, Brian Sia. So when we're working on her original songs, we're sort of programming the drums in, and it's just a very easy way that within an hour or 2 hours we can sort of get a demo together. Then when we get a drummer to work on it, I'll talk about the ideas that I've got to develop a little bit more, or the drummer might come up with, well, what about doing this? And that's good, because then that's communicating. I think to plan things out, for me anyway, to plan things out 100% before you're going in the studio. I like to have, it's a bit
need
too much.
flexibility.
I like that. I like being about 80% there, and I like that sort of 20% to happen in the studio.
Couple of takes and so on, so that you end up with a take that's got that nice, it's got that thing, and then you think, oh, that's it, that felt nice.
Yeah.
And then you can slot that in.
Exactly.
So hopefully there's some advice for, hello Cole, all right Lee? Adam, I thought it was you then, it's Adam drummer.
Yeah.
Hi Lee. Hi Adam. So there's a few more. So I'm starting to get comments now, so I'll develop over, give me 20 years, I keep telling people, we'll be good at this then. Yeah. So if you're listening, guys, or if you're watching after this evening, again, don't let people sort of, I find it in various instruments, guitarists, it's all about how quick my licks are, how quick I can do this, da-da-da-da. Although practicing and getting certain rudiments or licks are important, but they shouldn't dominate to cloud you out today. At the end of the day, we might come in and sit down with you and you want something really simple, and you should feel an energy pushing through from even a simple rhythm or simple guitar part, and you should still have that vibe to it. A famous drummer once said that if you could teach a lot of the younger drummers to have all that energy but put that into a love song, you've got a really good drummer, because Bernard Purdy said that. Because it's either like all energy because the song is energetic, or it's a bit of a love song, and the heart sings. It's keeping that vibe, isn't it, and putting it in. Because, again, the singer at the top of that may be, vocal-wise, pouring his or her heart out. So you've got to have something there, haven't you, as a feel for them to be able to sit on top and do that.
Exactly.
And that's the technique and that's the skill then, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Now, Adam is on the dark side, isn't he? Because your first instrument?
My first instrument is guitar and bass.
All the drummers go like that.
Guitar and bass,
No, bass, you do a bit of piano, don't you?
I dabble on quite a lot of things because of being a producer. It's to appreciate all the different instruments, I think is really important. So, and be able to communicate as well to different musicians. So, primarily I'm a guitar.
On these, don't you?
Yeah, I'm a guitarist and bassist. I really enjoy playing bass, at the moment and stuff. That's probably my favorite instrument to play. But guitar and bass, I play bit of piano, I play a bit of drums, harmonica, bit of the mandolin. I play on quite a few different things, but I think it's important. Like even like with the drums, it's like I've been able to play for quite a while. The basic beats and stuff, but being able to communicate some ideas that I have in my head that I want to get out to a drummer. It's great because I can jump behind the kit. I can show them what I'm doing, whether it's slower down. But at least I can get my ideas across and they get exactly what I'm on about. Yeah. So being able to sort of do that is
it's important.
It is important. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, excellent. So there's a couple of tips there, folks, of just make sure if you want to do things within music. Make sure the attitude is good and clean, and you're there. It's a proper job, really, if you want to do it, isn't it? It's no good.
Definitely.
And certainly don't want to be turning up drunk and late and all that nonsense. It's just because at the end of the day, it's all about money now as well, isn't it? You know, you've got restrictions. There's money. You can't just throw money forever in a day at a project. People need to be on the ball, don't they?
I've never dealt with a drunk drummer in a studio ever, and you know, and I think that goes back to I'm not. I wasn't a recording and mixing engineer back in the 60s or the 70s or the 80s. I've been doing this for about 20 years, 21 years. So it's a very different mentality now of being a professional, being a professional, even if you're a vocalist or whatever, it's, you wouldn't go on stage now, and getting hammered beforehand and stuff, that sort of stuff really about Liam Gallagher sort of style, that's what's probably stopped around about there. With the Britpop and that, but now it's more, people will be there sort of doing their warm-ups and stuff, their hot honey and everything, so it's a different caliber. And
I don't think people will put up with it so much like they used to. People want to turn up and see something and have what they understand. They want to hear the records live that they listen to when they put in their Spotify's or CDs, whatever they've got. They want that. And I agree with that. It should be. If I went to go see somebody and I took my wife and they were just awful, I'd feel shortchanged. I wouldn't be happy bunny at all. So attitude, and it always be professional in your job.
Yeah.
Right then. So the next thing, Curtis. Hello, Curtis, as well. Hey. So there's a couple on saying hello. So we were going to talk about if boys want to record drums. Would you say it's one of the hardest to get right?
Right. So,
here we go.
As a guitarist and bassist, right? Drums is most probably the most important thing to get right when you're recording.
Yeah.
It's the first proper thing for me when I'm tracking. I don't tend to like to record the drums later on in the process. I like to get them done first and then building it around that, because what you've got with a drum kit, essentially, each one of these are a different instrument. Yeah. So like a guitar is one instrument, bass is one instrument, kick drum's one instrument, your snare is one instrument. So what you've got happening here on a drum kit is that you've got a lot of instruments at different frequencies. Okay.
All together.
Yeah. So you've got a kick drum which will be, could go down to 40 hertz or whatever, getting all that sub kick, where you could have the snare with all this sort of weight at 120 hertz up to the top end, which could be up to 10 kilohertz, bringing up the sparkle and stuff in the air, the kit. So there's so many different things going on with a drum kit, and it's actually the hardest part of the recording process.
Yes.
So,
and it's a very live instrument, seeing it, as you say, it's a lot of movement of air, and everything influences, isn't it? You kick drum, you'll hear a cymbal give an overspill when it was and so on. Yeah, go on.
I think a couple of tips I would say for anybody who's doing like home recording with their drums, or if they go into a studio with a band, is that, say for example, like this kit here now, you've got 2 rack toms, you've got a floor tom. If you are not going to be using this rack tom and this rack tom in a particular song, take them out of the equation. Okay? I would take them out and just leave the floor tom and the snare. The same with the cymbals. If you're not using the cymbals, take them out, because you will get, you are going to get vibrations on the cymbals. Another tip as well is matching your cymbals to the drum kit. So you don't want to have really loud cymbals against your kit, right? So having a little bit of a selection is always a really good thing, so that I tend to like, one of my favourite cymbals are the Zildjian paper fins from like about 20 years ago, and I bought it off you, like, I think it was second-hand about 10 years ago, whatever it was. And I love it because it's a quieter crash.
Yes.
And it just sits in very nicely, a bit like the UFIP cymbals
I've been using, for that very reason, I ended up living a lot with 1931 UFIPs.
Yeah.
Because they're an older style. Again, they thin.
Yeah.
But I even like them live because as you brush into those cymbals, I always say to people again, don't take people's heads off.
Yeah.
You know, snares and cymbals are big, bang.
Yeah.
Get again, if you're playing live sort of thing, get a bit more energy down low.
Yeah.
A little less energy up high, and I find that the drum kit just balances nice.
Yeah.
And get even studio-wise. Don't, rim shotting and slamming that snare. That microphone's taking a lot of info then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Calm down a little and let the thing breathe a bit, That's what I've learned anyway.
Yeah, and and it's getting consistency as well, with the more experienced drummers, professional drummers, like the kicks and the snare hits are consistent, which is always a godsend when you're recording for a song. You can always do things in post, but you don't really want to do them in post because you want to be able to get it right in the recording process. So for example, on it, if I was recording Yuli on a single now on this kit, I would most probably spend the majority of the day on the kit, working on the sound, tuning the kit, making sure it's tuned right and it's the right type of sound for the song. Because not always when you go to a studio, and I'm just thinking of years and years ago when going in the studio and my drummer was like, in our original band, he was like, I'm using my kit because it's my kit.
Yeah.
It's not so much about that. It's about getting the right sound for the song.
Yeah. You mentioned previously to be prepared to be, what was the term you used? If a drummer or a musician again is coming in, it's being prepared that when you're talking about, you're going to tell them what to do. Are they willing to be emptied out, if you like?
Yeah, it's sort of like, that it's what I tell some of my degree students is that, it's like sort of like going under the microscope, and it's sort of like when you're listening to that drum kit, is it doing what you want it to do in that song? And, as, all of you guys know as drummers, is that, the little things of like the drum heads and that are going to make a massive difference when you're recording, and how and what sort of dampening you're going to be using on them. But also, the shells, the kit. And one of the things that, I sort of learned over time is that you might have a Mapex kick drum, but then you might have a Ludwig snare, and then I might have a Gretsch floor tom, because that sounds great on the song.
Yes.
And that's always, that's
again,
good.
It's all about the song.
It's all about the song, and having drummers that will turn up with like 2 drum kits or 2.5 drum kits and and a couple of snares, so you can make sure that you're getting the little differences between the songs and stuff like that. It does make a massive difference.
No, it's really good. So again, there's a couple of bits, isn't there? If you want to record drums at home, because it's a big live thing, so remove what you're not using. I've learned, I was doing some through lockdown in my little garage, and that's what I learned horrendously hard. Because it makes the mix, that's what was happening with my little videos, makes the mix cloudy, doesn't it? Because there's a lot going on.
Yeah, it's just going to resonate. It's just going to resonate, It's if you hit your kick drum, as a drummer, exactly. Your snare sort of vibrates straight when you hear that sort of...
Yeah.
But you turn your snare off, you hit the kick drum, and the kick sounds great.
So there's lots of overspills, isn't it, going on?
Yeah.
So remove that. There's the room itself, isn't it, to have absorption and deflection, isn't it? Not to have a very boxy square room.
Yeah, well, I suppose, if you're doing home recordings, you've got to work with what you've got and stuff. But it is about the space will impact your recording, because there might be a certain part of the room where you're going to get a little bit more low end, okay? Or it might just sound, it could sound a little bit sort of boxy or a bit more livelier. So it does depend on, where...
So you have to experiment. Keep trying and trying. What I noticed as well is that I can do like a little demonstration video just on drums and say, I like these drums. And I think, that sounds really nice.
Yeah.
But the second you try and mix other things with it, other instruments, then you realize it's not the drum sound. That's what I was finding. I don't know if you find the same. It's such an open door, isn't it? It's like a big blank canvas. Where do you start with the kit? Then you get that right. Then you add the bass and the guitars. You think, actually, so that everything influences everything else, doesn't it? And it's only through, you mentioned before, through literally hours of painstaking, pulling your hair out until eventually you start to get more of a clear understanding
and
experience every time.
And when I'm recording a drum kit, it's like I might put microphones when I put the mics on the kit. It might be the fact of changing the microphones as well. So it could be a kick drum mic that's just the kick's just not sounding right, but in the room the kick's sounding fine. So sometimes it's a case of changing that microphone or the preamp out just to get that different type of sound, which can help quite a lot.
Excellent, really good. So we got Kevin Pike as well, Adam, hi Lee, and we must be getting good. I always know when my videos are doing a little better. I see what I believe is like a spam or something odd, and we've got one of them pulls up to Cariad to interrupt live stream. Ha ha ha. Oh no, that's Luke Winter. It might have been that he came to come in here. I don't know. Anyway, but sometimes I get these weird messages asking people to go off somewhere else. That's success, that is, when the scammers come in.
Definitely.
And Jason Piper. Hey, Jason. He's a good boy. Jason is. He's a lovely lad. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of help, boys and girls. If you want to know a little more, obviously call in the shop. We're going to do more of these because of time, and we're going to come back
definitely.
and forth, go in the studio, show you. And we're also taking drum kits in the studio at different times to see how they behave under the microscope, as you call it, and see how they work and develop. You are a vintage man, and you very much.
Do you know what? Right, like I play a bit on the drums. Right, I don't class myself as a drummer. I love to just be in a room and play drums. Right. Obviously, I got a 70s Ludwig drum kit myself, and a nice little 60s Gretsch snare, and some bits and bobs. But I am a fanatic about drums. I do love my drums. I do really like vintage drums. I love recording vintage drums. There's something about them that really does it for me. Mind you, there has been an amazing Pearl kit, which was in here.
Gone now. We're getting another one in.
It's got the dampeners on the inside of the toms. And
it's the anniversary. President.
I'm dying to record that kit. But yeah, no, I am a big fan of drum kit. It's just so important, and I think you need music producers need to know how drum kits operate and what's going on with them. And just one thing, another little tip, guys, as well, is don't be afraid about moon gels. Okay, using the old technique with the wallet on the snare drum. Beatles use tea towels on them. Whatever you got to do to get the sound that you want, you got to do it. Like I've used at the bottom of my floor tom before. It's like some tissue paper and some tape to hold it on there, just to deaden that resonance a little bit. Maybe taking the front head off here, just so I can experiment inside. Whatever you need to do to get the job done.
Because your microphones are going to be part of that, Nate. If your microphone can't handle a certain frequency very well or whatever, or it may be a cheaper mic and it's not so good, as you said, you'll have to do something, position and influence in the kit to allow that microphone to work as well, innit? Because it's all... Oh, one very last thing. How many microphones? Everyone asks that. But you mentioned before... Was it... Did you say only 2 or 4, most of the records, 60s, 70s, 80s, 4 mics on drum kits?
You're talking like 50s and 60s. You'd be looking at not very many microphones. You must probably have a kick and maybe one mono overhead. That's for the early Beatles recordings. Then Glyn Johns, who was their sound engineer, which is the Glyn Johns technique, which was a kick, snare, and 2 overheads. But it totally depends. You can get a really, really nice sound, just from using.
So you don't need to buy £20,000 worth of mics, do you? You can need to start, if you want to get into recording, start with maybe a few less. Because if you've got 30 mics, surely you can't work out what's doing what. If you start off with 1 or 2, you get to learn about those, don't you? And then if you add on, you've got a basis. That's what I was thinking.
Malcolm Toft, who was... the main engineer for Trident Studios back in the day, he mixed Hey Jude as well.
Oh, wow.
And every time I speak to him, he always says, maximum of 6 microphones on the drums. Maximum of 6. But for me, it depends on the song. So if it is a more poppy song, or if it was, even though I don't do much metal and stuff like that, but I know that somebody like Ramesh or whatever, he'll use a lot of... close microphones on the toms and stuff, but I use a lot of close close-up mics. Like sometimes I'll use 12 microphones
Right.
on a kit.
Yeah.
And that will be some room microphones
Yeah,
to get
yeah,
that ambience and stuff. So it just totally depends, to be honest.
Ambience.
Yeah. So
Yeah. So there is no simple answer, is it? You've got to live, you've got to learn, you've got to try. You come down to the college and sign on with your college, can't they? If they're young enough. And I think that's what it is. It's like playing. You've got to experiment. You've got to live. You've got to learn. Try different drums out. I'm mad for having a 3-piece, then a 5-piece, and then I want loads of cymbals, then no cymbals. And I've always been like that. I've gone out live with a snare bass drum and a hi-hat. Job done. And a ride. And that's all I've done. And because I've pushed myself to do that, then I'll go up with a bigger kit. And I used to do that before I had my big gap of not playing. I used to mix up because it just taught me so much about how I was approaching the drums and the sounds. And I tend to do a bit of that again now. Yeah, and I can't decide which is my favourite. I just can't.
But I did hear as well, I can't remember who said this to me, when you're learning drums, you should just have your kick, your snare and your hi-hat. And you shouldn't have anything
ride
else.
As well a lot of the time, because the ride is important.
Just to get your sort of your rhythm right, get your rudiments right and stuff like that. You know, so I think that's
I sort
important.
of say that a little bit as well, like guitarists and that. Throw all the pedals in the bin, have the guitar only, clean, to learn that first. Yeah. And then as you add those things in, you've already learned your instrument.
Exactly.
And I think a little bit like that with drums. Don't go too much. Just have your basic. Yeah. Get those patterns, get those rhythms in. If you can make that sing, you'll make a bigger kit sing a bit more. And then add as you go. And the problem is with drums, the beauty is the problem, is that it's endless. Yeah. You know, it just goes on and on, doesn't it? For percussion parts, then electronic drums and so on. It just goes on forever. Yeah. There's so much you can add to this. So again, you have to just balance that out a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
So really good. So guys and girls, I think we've been on like, wow, it's the longest one. An hour. Hello, Paul Edger as well. So we got a few more that's been on and off. So that's really good. We just do this every week. Again, to reiterate, the reason I go live is that if I wanted to create these videos like with you and edit them and so on, they just never get sorted, do they? Yeah. So we just had to be brave, and I had to say, blow to it. Let's just be brave and let's just get on with it. Yeah. And it forces me. I love doing them, but I always dread doing them, you know? Yeah. But it's got to be done.
Yeah. So if anybody's got any questions about, recording, for your setups and stuff, put in the comments and stuff on Lee's page, and I'll pop on and, and answer any questions.
You'd have to do that on the YouTube, underneath the YouTube, not the livey chat, because it's really hard to find that. Yeah. So, but great. Well, thanks for coming over.
No problem.
Excellent. And we shall do, as I said, we'll do a few of these along the way. Dr. Jan last week, a lot of people liked because I was carpal tunnel syndrome and different things. Yeah. So he's willing to do regular as well. So I got a few where we can tap specifically into one or two things. What types of mics you use, what interfaces, what's an interface. We can do little ones along the way, can't we? Yeah, and definitely. Keep adding. Yeah. So excellent.
Well, maybe when we do the Mapex recording, you could have a little competition or invite a couple to come down for that experience, maybe.
Yeah. We shall look into all these various things. Right.
There we are.
Thanks, guys. Thank you all for watching. Thanks for your saying hello to us. And if you're watching after the event, just give us a like on the page and subscribe. Brilliant. And all the best, Adam. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thank you.
Diolch.
Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Oh, by the way, he loves it in here. One, because there's loads of drums, and two, because he has lots of cups of tea.
You know it.
Love it. Right, thanks, guys. Take care. I got to turn this off now.